Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Becoming the most valuable sports franchise in the world doesn't happen without risk. A man who's willing to bet it all, and the players ready to make their own luck. America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, is the story of the 1990s Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones's impact on NFL history. Featuring interviews with iconic 90s players and more. Watch America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, August 19th, only on Netflix.
And welcome back to the Boundary Corner Podcast, a part of the College Huddle Network, along with my partners Brian Ziegler and Jonathan Talley. I am Curtis Wilson, and as always, we are brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts down at the Counts Family Pharmacy, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg. Fellas, how's everybody doing tonight?
Fighting a little bit of a cold, but feeling all right, man. Feeling all right. How about you?
Brian, you ain't got no cold. You got too drunk when you went to that concert. That's what happened.
I got a week-long hangover.
Week-long hangover. I done been. Hey, you old now, man. You can't be drinking like you did back when you was in college. You gotta take it easy. You ain't got a lot of us.
Gotta pace myself.
All pacing.
Yep. All good,
Kelly,
man.
Y'all good?
All good. Baseball is kind of in the swing of things right now. You know, summer baseball, that is kind of kicking up. Working with the kid to try to get him on track to do the right things. So we will talk about that another day. But everything is good.
You look good, man. You look good. You look fresh right now.
Man, hey, I'm just trying to see the next day, man. Trying to be friends with Coach Pry and not be too mad at him. So, you know, maybe somebody gonna shed some light on how I need to feel with all this. Hey, we got a lot to talk about, man. We had some stuff roll out, timing of game. I got people calling, asking me, am I going? Y'all know what I want to say, Curtis. Hell no. I ain't spending no money on them. But you know what?
You gonna go.
It's like 3 months
It's like 3
away.
hours. It's also like
4 months away.
It's also 2 hours from your house.
Yeah,
it's literally 2 hours from your house. It's a 3 o'clock game that was announced. That means if they make you really mad, you can get in your car, be back in your own bed by 10 o'clock and go to sleep.
They're going to make me mad.
They always make you mad.
They're going to make me mad even if we win. They're going to make me mad. But I got a lot to think about, man. I'm going to Vegas at that month, or going to Vegas, so it's a lot to think about, man. But we'll get into all that.
We're gonna get into all that. We're gonna get into a lot of different stuff tonight. So without further ado, we are gonna bring the special guests on tonight from 247 Sports. As Tally has dubbed him, as we were talking before the show, he is currently, as he's shaking his head, I can see him, the mayor of Blacksburg and 247 Sports own, and everybody's favorite portal guy to watch because he knows it all, Kolby Crawford. Kolby, how are you this wonderful Wednesday?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate y'all having me on. This is going to be a good time. I really appreciate y'all having me. Hopefully we don't drop off the call down here in a non-discreet location in the Outer Banks. So ready to talk some football.
Somewhere in the Outer Banks is Kolby Crawford right now.
Somewhere in the Outer Banks. We hope that that spot's got internet a little bit better than Tally had a few months back.
I was about to say, if that internet ain't worse than this Alabama internet, then you gonna be straight. This internet was struggling for a while. We had to change it up over here.
And he finally got it. He did change it up, and now hold on. We are starting. Tally, our music man, Jason, Kolby, the guy that plays us out. He lives in Roanoke. He's a huge Titans fan, and so is Tally. So they always got something to talk about.
Yeah, definitely, man. I was going to say, Jason going to have to call me, and we're going to have to get together on this stuff, man. But for the most part, man, I mean, you had to do it. As a Titans fan, I'm a Cam Ward fan, though. Like, I just like what he is and what he brings. Not a Miami fan. I hated that he went and played in Miami, but for a kid to do what he did, go to all the different stops, and continue to work, continue to be, humble for the most part. Like, he just continued to work until he was the number one pick in the draft. And for where we are, with what we need, you can't pass him up. You know what I'm saying? It's like, at one point I was like, man, you got to take Travis Hunter. I mean, that's a generational talent. But at the same time, it's kind of like, look at New King. I knew he was going to pop up. If you say Miami, New King is popping up. I knew he was going to pop up. Thank y'all for sending Cam Ward our way. But especially after what Jaden Daniels done last year, like if you pass up on a quarterback that's got that kind of ceiling, how dumb are you going to feel?
It's true.
Because you already know that, the quarterbacks that we have aren't the guy. Now, possibly because of the line we had wasn't the guys either. But, I mean, you pass up on somebody like a Cam Ward with the number one pick, and then he goes somewhere else and he shows out, like you're slapping yourself in the head for a decade.
Yep. And that's a dude that bet on himself for 3 straight years.
Yes.
Made it happen.
Right.
That was someone, because we're going to talk about it all tonight with Kolby, with the portal. That is someone who, it's like the portal the right way, right? He was an incarnate word, lower school, went to Washington State. Not your highest level school, a solid mid-level P5 school, P4 school, whatever you want to call it. Excelled, went to Miami.
P5 at the time.
P5 at the time. That's true.
R.I.P. to Pac-12.
Yeah. And then went to Miami, did what he did down there, played great, because he wasn't the reason they lost games. He wasn't the reason at all, because he played his nuts off every single game. But to me, everybody who shits on the portal, it's like there's so many good stories like that literally, if Cam Ward doesn't have the portal, do we ever know Cam Ward's name? Does he ever become the number one pick? Probably not.
Man, you even think about, somebody I think it might have been you when I was going on a rant, Curtis, that we talk about.
Oh, yeah.
For all the bad stuff that people have to say about the portal, you even bring it to Virginia Tech, and you look at somebody like APR. Like APR is a Virginia Tech legend now, right?
Yes, he is.
He can come back to Blacksburg whenever he wants to. Mm-hmm. And they're always going to remember what he did in a Hokies uniform.
Same with Tootin.
Same with Tootin. You would have never seen these guys if it wasn't for the portal. You know 100%. What I'm saying? You've never seen them at Virginia Tech if it wasn't for the portal. So as bad as people make it out, as bad as it is sometimes, and it's true, much craziness kind of goes on in it, man. It's a lot of good stories that come out of it. So I'm here for it, man. I just love football. And we'll figure it out.
And the guys we're going to talk about tonight in a few minutes here, it's the same way. A lot of them are elevating to a stage where either like APR, he was down at Florida. Florida's an unbelievable program. They never found the right spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
Came back to Tech, perfect fit, everything.
Yep.
Everything fit. He is an unbelievable sack guy in college, shows his motor, shows his skill. Same with Tootin. Guys goes to A&T, accelerates there, comes to Tech, does back-to-back seasons. And now we're going to talk about 10 guys in a few minutes here, their stories, their backgrounds, and how we're feeling about those rooms. But Brian and Kolby, before we get into all that, y'all both attended the Metallica concert, correct?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kolby, I'm gonna let you go first, Brian, since he is the esteemed guest tonight, and just give me your feels of where'd you sit, and just in general the feelings while watching that concert, because y'all, the videos, the production, I mean, Tally, you've seen it, I mean, unbelievable. Like, It didn't look like the same place, and it looked unreal. Go ahead, Kolby.
Yeah, so I'll honestly start the day before. I was lucky enough to go through with some of the media and walk through on the floor level of the whole stage apparatus, the entire setup of the concert, and that was amazing. They were going through sound test, and they actually played like the helicopter sound that's the lead into the song. And I mean, I've been to quite a few concerts in my life, been fortunate enough to go and some pretty large sound systems. When that speaker played the helicopter sound and like this aircraft sound, it sounded as if there was a flyover. Like, I almost looked up and was like, is there a flyover actually happening right now? The ground shook beneath you, and kind of from that moment I knew, okay, it's really on for tomorrow. And then we get to show day. Had a couple buddies come in town, and I forego the opportunity to sit with the media, and of course I went to go sit in the student section to enjoy that moment. And I was in the north end zone. It's been a while since I've been in the north end zone, so that was, I mean, I think it has to rank as the best live show I've ever seen. Just atmosphere, and honestly, coming from someone, I'm not the biggest Metallica fan. Going in, I knew 5 or 6 songs, but I mean, just the setting, the entire crowd. I mean, there's some football games where you look up in, I guess, the East Ends where it's allotted to the other visiting team, and it's not all the way sold out. When I looked around, it was like your mouth is on the floor. Like, this place is packed out. The student section was overpacked out. It was incredible. It happened to be, I know for everyone it was great, but for the students, it was the last day of classes. So they were already just psyched out of their mind. So it was the best thing ever. Like, I'm struggling to find words that could encapsulate the way I feel. Like, I'm just getting goosebumps thinking about it, but it was just so amazing.
Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I got to echo, what Kolby said there. I mean, I've seen a lot of shows in my day, and that's in the conversation for the best live show that I've attended. And it really goes back to just atmosphere. It goes back to, I think, what Metallica has meant to this fan base in general. I think it's the energy that they brought. Like, they seem like they were on a different level, knowing what them being there meant for Blacksburg, for the fans and things like that. So I mean, it was incredible. You talked about the one when the helicopters came in and the pyro started shooting up and simulating the fire from the choppers in the planes. Man, it was really, really impressive. And like, that whole run there, one all the way through Sandman, was just like banger after banger. And when they got to Master of Puppets, and like they were saying Master in the chorus, it was just like echoing, like you could like feel a pulse from that. It was kind of crazy. I really, it's hard to put into words. We got a couple guys here that I actually saw tailgating pregame. Shout out Jim West.
You met Jim?
I met Jim.
Shout out Jim.
He was at Dan and Steven's tailgate over there with Mary and Drew and Chris and all them. So
nice.
Nate,
so
shout out to all those guys.
All right. So the set list, obviously everybody said they played, they did Master Puppets. First of all, looking at, I think the encore was what, one I heard one was the original, was the beginning of the encore, right?
I believe that was the first one. Whatever
Okay,
Brian
yeah.
just said, the
It
run
was
from
it was one
to
Seek and
whatever.
Destroy, Master of Puppets, and Sandman were the final four there.
Okay.
I think whatever after one, because me and my friend, I mean, a little anecdote, like one of the buddies I'm down here with, throwing it way back to whenever the civilians versus cadets snowball fight was. Every year we've been there and that fight has happened, we play one right before we all go out. So, I mean, we love, like, that song, like, Enter Sandman, don't get me wrong, has its place in Blacksburg, but for us specifically, one is also up there. So when they came out with that and they just played, I mean, honestly, banger after banger after banger, and then you end out blowing the lid off the place with the Enter Sandman. I don't know the exact order, but after one, I knew every song after that, and I'm not a massive fan, so that was an incredible stretch.
Nice.
Wait, and you covered what you covered basically like all the big albums from beginning through Black in that last four.
Yeah.
So you had one, you had Seek and Destroy, you had Master of Puppets, and then you had Enter Sandman, and that like doesn't get much better than that.
So it's got to be asked, but obviously they did the normal entrance. That's how they got on stage, which that was pretty cool. I saw some of the videos of that, the normal playing, and they're coming on in fireworks. But at the end, Master of Puppets goes off. Apparently they were teasing, which you're like, you're gonna end with it. You're gonna end. There ain't even no question you're gonna end with it. But when Hetfield started the chant, like, what was y'all's feels on it? Because it was just like, how can they do this? Because this is Sandman at North Sandman itself is a 5-minute song. North concerts, it's anywhere from 5.5 to 8.5. But when they hit it, when those notes hit, was it just chills, or were y'all just so in the moment? It was just like, it's literally like a game. You're so hyped because you went through 15, 20 songs. You've been there all day. The Pyros have been unbelievable. Just give me that one last piece and we'll close out the Metallica piece tonight.
I mean, I think it was still chills the whole way through because, I mean, even my experience in just a couple short years, you know how much that song, that entrance, the reverence just around that entire place. And then you almost thought, like, the culmination of the entire night, like, is this really about to happen? Like, you knew it was happening, but it's something really a pinch yourself moment where you're sitting there and it goes off and he leads the Let's Go Hokies chant, and you look and there's so many people who were just Metallica fans, not honestly maybe no relation at all to Virginia Tech, and they looked at the person next to them. What are they? Oh, they said Hokies. All right, so now I'm gonna say it on the next time he goes back. That was what I thought was so incredible. Was I was sitting next to or down the way from someone, and when he started the Let's Go Hokies chant, they didn't know what they were saying, and then they jumped right in with everyone else. So it was sort of that collective, I guess, just experience to soak in that moment. Because Brian touched on it. Like, I'm not saying they don't go out there and play it up every night, every show, every tour date, but I think they really understood what it meant to that location specifically. And yeah, I mean, just incredible.
Yeah, surreal. It was surreal when that moment hit because, I mean, guys my age, since 2000, and shout out Jim for being there for the first Sandman. Since 2000, there's always been like those rumors that are floating around, like, oh, but Metallica's going to play here this week, or, you know, they're going to be there for the Let's Go Hokies chant. There's going to be something Metallica related. There's always these rumors, and then finally this comes, and to have it happen in Lane and to experience that, it was absolutely surreal. I mean, that's really the best way I can describe it is surreal. And you know, Kolby, you talked about, you know, kind of the mix of crowd there. I mean, it was, you know, there was a lot of Metallica Hokie fans. There were some Hokie fans that were there for the experience, and then there were a lot of just fans of Metallica, fans of, you know, metal and thrash metal in general, and they joined right in with everybody else, man. It was such a good mix, I think, of all those different types of fans in that one area.
That's so awesome. Well, glad y'all boys got to experience that. The videos coming out over the last 7 days of it, unbelievable, you know, from the concert itself. Even, I think one of the cooler things, again, sometimes some things that goes on at the school, we just like shake our heads at. But that video that I'm assuming the football media guys did outside the stadium, where you can hear it, like, and you can just see it, and it's just like that was cool. That was, because some people, like, to me, that's like visionary type stuff. Like, that's really cool to think about how you hear it, and then you hear the notes and everything roll. So awesome. All right, we've talked 20 minutes about Cam Ward and Portal. We've talked 10 minutes about Metallica's concert.
No, I'm just kidding.
Let's get into the portal itself. Kolby's bread and butter here. And Kolby,
About to say, the only thing I'm here for, no, I'm kidding.
no, you're here for everything, man. We've got you on for everything in your opinions. I'm sure you've got some great ones. But let's kick this off first. Let's talk about the guys who left. The players that left. Anybody shock you of that group? Or
you're talking specifically in the spring?
In the spring, yeah. Not talking in the winter is gone by. That's long gone, but specifically in the spring.
When you talk spring, realistically, honestly, no one was a massive shock. The one that maybe caught me a little off guard, Bob Schick. But I mean, you totally understand that as well. He's got a family, a kid. He's a long way from his home out in Utah. Gets a little bit closer for going to Oklahoma State. Probably worked out a deal, maybe work his way into some more guaranteed playing time. So, like, you think about it, there was definitely a route, and it's not a big shock. But out of everyone who left, if I had to name one and nail down, it'd probably be Bob Schick, because, I mean, he was still – I mean, you know how you get into the season injuries roll, and room is what it is. So, I'd say probably that one out of all of them.
But I like what you said there at the end, though. It's that idea that he wanted more guaranteed playing time. Because something we mentioned, he was in the portal last time we got together. It was this whole, you're not getting the amount of snaps you got last year because there are guys who are better on this team. And I think you just made that point pretty good, because it was a lot of guys that went. And again, we always talk about pride, but the thing is, we were a 6-win team last year. Some guys had to go. Some guys were going to go because money was going to call them. Some guys were going to go because they had to go, right? So it is what it is. All right, boys, just real quick. I think we hit it, but I want to confirm. Any shock to y'all? Anybody? I think everybody – it's pretty much the portal is closed now, and so many guys are actually, at home. Like Jordan McDonald's going to play for William and Mary. Jaden went to UCF. You mentioned Bob Schick heading out to Oklahoma State, Kolby, Braylon Johnson down to Wake Forest, Cam Fleming down to App State, and so on. But any shock? Like, nobody landed at like a terrible spot. Like, I think everybody got homes, right?
Well, that and like I think the thing that we're starting to see in terms of talent leveling up and things like that. A lot of those guys are guys that, for one reason or another, either weren't high enough in the depth chart for what they were comfortable with from a playing time standpoint, or we had pushed them so far down that it was in their best interest to look somewhere else if they wanted the playing time. And then they're landing at Oklahoma States and UCFs instead of like, some of those other schools are taking a step down to FCS. There wasn't as much of that. So even the guys that aren't necessarily able to make it with us are landing at pretty good spots now, which is showing that the talent level is getting raised across the board. I think the thing that we're looking at is that when you make wholesale shifts, both defensively and offensively, there's going to be some guys that don't find their footing under the new scheme. It's just not going to be a good fit for them. It may be something where they're just not going to see as much time. And it could be a situation like the offensive line where you brought in more guys that are better, whether it's talent-wise or fit-wise, that you're just not going to get as many opportunities as you had before, even for guys like Bob Schick that were starters.
100%. Well, let's talk about some of those guys. And Kolby, I want to start on the offense and then flip over to defense. And let's start with the offensive line, because we take a look at the two guys, and Jaden Muskrat, who comes up from Auburn, Gavin Crawford, who comes up from West Virginia. That's clearly Monty's and Moore's guys, right? It's a guy Monty recruited at Tulsa, played for him at Auburn. Same in the thing with Gavin Crawford down at West Virginia. I mean, from what you've heard, how easy were those recruitments? I mean, was it just a phone call and said, "Here's a spot"?
Yeah, I mean, so much of the portal comes down to obviously prior relationships, but there is no sure thing, especially these days. You can have handshake or certain ideas of players before they go somewhere, but I mean, there were some stories and things that happened where coming down to the final seconds where you thought it was a done deal and something happens. But for both of these situations, I'll start with Gavin Crawford. I think that one is probably a lot more straight down the line. Visited early, committed early, obviously spent a semester at West Virginia, jumped in, followed Coach Moore. That one, I think, recruitment-wise, pretty straight down the line. Someone who I think honestly has a lot of developmental upside. I really like inside maybe now, but has the versatility to probably move outside. I'd like to see his updated weight if he's actually at 330. But, I mean, just based on high school film, I think that's a good take, obviously. You got to build out that room a little bit. When you take, 5 high school guys over 2 cycles, there was a lot of work to be done. I think Matt Moore's done a good job flipping it. And I think this 26 class ahead will probably reflect that a little bit. That's pretty much all on Crawford recruitment-wise. For Muskrat, much of the same. Obviously, Monty, Tulsa, having both, a lot of, Cannon Montgomery's also on staff. Philip Montgomery's son. I forget his official title. I think co-running back or something like that. Yeah. But he also had a relationship when you have both those guys on staff, and he followed him from Tulsa to Auburn, and now we're here to Virginia Tech. This whole portal window, we were recovering on VTScoop.com. They were going to go out there and find them a veteran offensive lineman. This is one with the prior relationship to your offensive coordinator, familiar, knows the scheme, just familiar with him. When you talk about coming in over the summer and fall, it's just so much being familiar is just so crucial. So that's really big. So they knew they were going to go out and get a veteran guy to pair. Gavin Crawford's great, 4 years of eligibility. You need depth there, but they were also really sorely looking for someone who could make an impact almost immediately on the field. So to have that relationship prior, that recruitment, I would say, is pretty straightforward as well. There were some personal things that they had to work through, which was sort of the delay. But really, honestly, a great job that's probably not talked about enough by the staff on that one, because those snags can sort of meander and develop and not get him in the boat. But to get him landed, it was really big. But like I said, those relationships prior were a big reason why. But still, really important and big to get him in the boat.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Brooks Running reminds us that we're all powered by something. Whether it's the me-time energy of a run after a day at the office, the electrifying energy of your first marathon, or the infectious energy of a group run with your friends. No matter what energy powers you, Brooks has gear specifically designed to unleash it. So lace up and let it out. Let's run there. Visit brooksrunning.com today to learn more.
Yeah, 100%. And any talk of, I know you mentioned about Gavin Crawford could starting at the inside, but you want to know that weight, because my assumption is you think if he's a little bit bigger, he might kick out. But are we pegging Muskrat? He's going to start at tackle one side or the other?
See, that's a really great question. There's so much that has to be seen. I think he will play tackle. I'm not sure if he's a plug-and-play guy, because honestly, and that's not a knock on him, I think Johnny Garrett had a really great spring, and They were working Tomas Remak out at right tackle as well. And I think for Remak to show NFL scouts that they have the versatility to play inside at guard, be a Big 12 honorable mention, and then if you kick out this year and you have a all ACC caliber year where you're a solid bookend right there. He has the size. It looked like he had a good camp, but at the same time, you know what he can do on the inside. So let's say Muskrat comes in. He's a world beater in the fall. and you like what Garrett's shown. So you have Garrett on one side, Muskrat, and then you have Remack. So it's just kind of where those 5 fit. But I don't think they'll pull Muskrat inside. But either way, you have highly increased the floor of your offensive line room bringing him. He's seen a lot of college football. There's some things you just, especially in the offensive line room, I feel like I'm going to use like a college basketball reference, but I feel like there's always that big man in the NCAA tournament you cut on. It's like, who is this guy playing for this team? But it's his 4th or 5th year in college, and he's just so much more advanced just physically. That's kind of what it is with offensive linemen. Now, every now and again, you have I remember Francis Maui-Goa at Miami, who as a true freshman looked like a 6-year offensive lineman. But realistically, most of the time, to get developed and being 22, 23, and spend all that time in a college weight room, I think it'll be really valuable for his experience and also being, familiar with Monty's scheme before. So he's gone through this a lot more than even the guys who have been there for spring only. Because I think Monty said after the spring game, they only got maybe 2/3 of the way through install. So I think it'll be really valuable overall to the room.
Yeah, I think it's going to be big. And you talked about the install pieces, and you get a guy that is familiar with the scheme coming in with a coach that, while, Monty and Moore haven't necessarily had a lot of overlap in their careers, scheme wise, it's a very good fit between the two, what they want to do, how they want to do it. And you mentioned guys in the tournament. As soon as you said that, I immediately went to Cameron Krutwig from Loyola Chicago, just this big dude, but he not necessarily that physically intimidating, but he's a man out there. But he has an understanding of the mental game as well as the physical, and can take advantage of that even despite some other athletic shortcomings of his game there. And you got a guy like Muskrat that can kind of has that experience, has seen it from different levels. Looking at Tulsa, looking at Auburn, coming in. I think that's going to be big. He's not going to be overwhelmed by the talent that he's seeing in the ACC. And I'm very interested to see whether he's going to end up at right tackle, left tackle, whatever it may be. Or if he's going to be more of an interior player at some point. But I feel like he's going to be a tackle, whether he ends up knocking Remack or Johnny Garrett out of a starting spot. I feel like they're all still going to start. It's just what's the configuration going to be? Is it going to be is it going to be Muskrat at left, Johnny at right, Remack inside, a flip of the tackles there, or are you just going to keep Remack out there and then just move one of those guys inside? So I'm really interested to see how that shuffle's going to work, and how Crawford maybe enters the conversation, because I think he's still a younger guy. I think he's still got some room to grow. Is he going to be a guy that can really have an impact this year? Or is he more of a long-term solution for the inside of that offensive line?
I think long-term. I'll make a note. You want to talk about a younger guy who's been up through the program, who I don't know if will make an impact this year, but just someone to maybe bookmark. Aiden Lynch. That's a guy who I think could make some waves here. At the end of last year, so I guess the year he redshirted, and into the spring, someone who's slowly making some moves. Now, like I said, you got a lot of older guys ahead of him, but you want to talk about a younger guy with a lot of years left of eligibility. That's someone to maybe keep an eye on.
Yeah,
what you got?
Yeah, no, just everything that you're talking about is what you want to be talking about. You know what I'm saying? You can be mad like me at everything, but when you really look at football and you really kind of see how to build a program and how to build a team, the things that y'all are talking about is what you want to be talking about. Who's going to start here, not for the fact of we don't have anybody. You know what I'm saying? You got pieces that Xavier Chaplin leaves, understandable. That is a blow, right? You know what I'm saying? But you had one really good guy, and then you had some mediocre guys and some really bad guys. So it was a discrepancy in the top to the bottom. Now I feel like you've got guys kind of all across the board that can fit in, and you have like Kolby said, raised floor in that room. So if I do have to switch you out for a series or play, this guy goes down, you don't have this massive drop off when X was getting hurt and then we have to put somebody else in. If you got all these other guys that you can plug and play, or that because I don't know everything about football, but I can look at an offensive lineman in a game and tell if he can play. Like I can look at a couple of plays and be like, he can do something for you. Cunningham can do something for us. The fact that he didn't see the field last year on a bad offensive line was a tragedy. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he was hurt or something, maybe, but I'm just saying I've seen him enough to know like that kid can do something for us. Hey, this dude isn't doing right. Go in there and get him and let me talk to him for a minute. I'm just glad to see that the offensive line coach and the offensive line room has a pulse. So I know some people was like, oh, this dude only plays special teams. So fucking what? I don't care what he played. Get me all the offensive linemen and then let's figure out if they can play or not. Because when you got 3 offensive linemen that you know can play, or you got 10 that you think can play, I'd take the 10 I think can play. Because one of those 3 is going to get hurt. So I'm just glad to see the new coach has a pulse, and he's done a good job of flipping the room, man. He's done a good job of bringing some people in. And then, like, when you talk about, I think Kolby was talking about just, like, being comfortable with the coach. Most people in the chat, most people here have played some type of sport. And like, egos and attitudes play a big part in what you do when you're playing sports. It could be something as simple as a coach dips snuff, right? Does tobacco, and he yells in your face. Well, when you talk to your mama, you say, well, this dude keeps spitting in my face. Don't no mama want to hear that he's spitting in your face. Oh, we got to find a new school. Well, if you have somebody that knows that coach and knows his mannerisms, he's probably going to say, well, coach such and such he's not spitting in your face. He's just yelling. That's what he does. Like, calm down. Before you call your mom and dad and tell that. So having somebody who's comfortable with a coach that coach probably is going to gravitate to, and he really wants to get on Kolby, but he knows Brian, he'll get on Brian so Kolby can see it. You know what I'm saying? So having those guys that come in and those coaches can lean on to be like, Brian, get your shit together. But Brian's doing everything right, but he's doing that so the younger guy can see him. You know what I'm saying? I think that's going to help in the long run. I'm just interested to see kind of where we go, where the team goes. But as we know, the team goes with the trenches. So I'm definitely, keeping my eye on that this summer and into the fall.
Yeah, and Kolby made the point, like, we had a couple cycles that we probably didn't take as many linemen as we should have, both in the portal and high school recruiting. And so a lot of what Morris had to do is kind of backfill that position a little bit, both from a front-end talent perspective and from a depth perspective. And I think he's done a pretty good job of that so far. And, I think it was definitely needed. I know some of that was probably related to the issues that we had with having a different offensive line coach pretty much every damn year of the prior regime. So that didn't help. But, you can't let those things go by the wayside, because you can get all the wide receiver talent that you want. You can get all these, really good players in the secondary. You can get all those guys. But if you're not dominating the trenches, none of that matters.
It doesn't matter whatsoever. And to y'all's point, I love what y'all said, Brian and Tally, about having those guys that know you and know what you can do to them. And Moore had his already with Rymack, Altuner, and the Lucas kid. He got a fourth one. Now Monty got his, right? Because I love that, Tally. Because now if Monty wants to go to the offensive line and get on somebody, I didn't know Muskrat for the last 6 years. I coached him at Auburn. I coached him at Tulsa. You got that piece. And I think we're all in agreement here, and y'all said it in some way, shape, or fashion. I think right now, compared to last year, this room is better, even without the elite guy, right, Tally? And to me, that's what Xavier Chaplin was.
Yeah.
It's almost like we traded away. You see it in all sorts of MLB deals. We traded away the elite guy, but everything we got back, we got so much more in return, right? It's like you got Rymack, who's all Big 12. You got Muskrat, who knows the system. Altuner was a high-end center coming out. It's like, you don't want to shit on Xavier, but it's like if you had to leave for us to get effectively a full step better at every other spot on this line,
right?
I think we can live with it. So, All right, there's the offensive line group. I can't wait till this summer when we're all texting and we're like, okay, who's the starting five of the offense? And we're gonna probably argue about it because it's gonna be arguments about it. All right,
That's Hokies
The summer
roundtable.
period.
Let's cue that up.
The summer period is long, and we'll do what we can to try and get some intel. But it is long, and there's not a lot to sort of tell. So that's the best time to just throw stuff at the wall and see what happens in fall camp.
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
All right, let's flip now to. I thought this room was set. I truly did. I truly thought the wide receiver room was set. You know, Aiden Green has played.
Curtis, you weren't reading on vtscoop.com then.
Hey, listen, man. I probably was at a baseball game at some point in time. Reading certain things has to go out of the window when you're at the baseball field 6 out of 7 days. And Josh is already hitting it here. Talk about Isaiah Spencer out of Jackson State, a guy with some data. And you want to talk about some data? You take a look at him, played 2 seasons down there. 70, right at 70 catches, over 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. Let's go ahead and talk about where's the connection there? Who knew this kid? How did this come about, Kolby? Because, again, this was one I thought it was going to not come to fruition. I was like, I think we're set. We could probably use one, but I did not think we would get a guy who had this much production where you see, okay, the tape's there. The production's there. I don't care if it's at Jackson State or not.
Yeah, so assistant head coach, wide receiver coach, Fontel Mines kind of takes what he wants. It's sort of what it comes down to. I mean, you go out there, and this is someone who's, pretty highly regarded going around in the portal, getting some pretty big interest. I know Baylor was really heavy on him there at the end. I know he canceled that visit right after he visited Virginia Tech, but you had some pretty big suitors after him. Evaluators seeing the skill and really being high on him. And this was just another, honestly, masterclass by Fontel Mines and seeing what he wanted, getting after it, and getting him in the fold. So, yeah, we can talk more about it. But, yeah, just overall recruitment-wise, it's just Coach Mines doing what he does.
And I think, what you've got to sell now is a little bit different than what you had to sell under a Bowen offense, because – It's still a mostly balanced attack, right? You're still going to get a pretty decent dose of the run, but because of the pace of play, you're going to run so many more plays. These wide receivers are going to have so much more opportunity to make plays in this offense. That's the selling point, and that's why you're going to get a chance to pull in a guy like this in the spring window.
Yeah, and I'll circle back. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Kobe.
Well, I'll circle back a little bit. I know Curtis said you thought you were good in the room where it is. Yes, 100%. But going into the portal, the spring portal at least, it sort of heard. Obviously, with Brody Adams missing the spring with the injury, they really like where he's at, and I think he'll be back for fall. But just him being down, you obviously bring in Cam Selden, who's making the position switch, and I really think he had a great spring too. But you bring him in, Donovan Green, I think a nice addition as well, but someone who's battled injury. So you really look. And then behind them, you have Chance Wiggins, Tucker Holloway, a couple other guys. So they went into this portal. Ideally, they were looking for. I know they hosted Christian Fitzpatrick, the guy from Marshall, that got a one-handed catch on Montour to Lane. People remember from last year in Lane. But that was maybe what we were hearing initially, a big body, true vertical threat. Because I think Brian was just talking about the vertical aspect of Monty's offense, someone who can really push it down the field. That big, maybe prototypical NFL receiver. You think about that NFL X body type, where 6'4", bigger guy can really push down the field. But when this is a player, maybe 6'2", 215, maybe a little smaller, but someone who is still just as a talent you can't not take. I think that's why they went and backfilled here at wide receiver. Now, that's not to say the younger guys that they've brought in, like Keelan Chans, Micah Matthews, Snook Peterkin. But, Snook's a guy who he hasn't even stepped on campus yet. Micah was splitting time. So, they really like these guys. You just want to bring them along a little bit. So, this is a guy who's ready to sort of just bridge that gap a little bit.
No, yeah, exactly where I was going to kind of go with it is what Kobe said. It's because the one thing you can't account for is injuries. You know what I'm saying? And you bring a wide receiver in that has been injured. You know what I'm saying? You got a wide receiver that you're kind of start counting on that's injured. Injuries are going to happen, you know. You look at Allie Jennings went down last year, then where you go from there. If you can get talent, you get talent. Same as I said with the offensive line room. It's like, give me 10 and let's see who goes. I understand that, and you never know, somebody wants to leave. You know, you don't know what's going to happen in today's football. So when you have an opportunity to go grab somebody that does, like you said, have some data, I think somebody put 0 drops. I mean,
yeah.
You got 0 drops in 2 years. Yeah, we'll take it. You know, let's see what you can do. Let's put you in an orange uniform because that's when we win. And let's see what you can do because we've kind of seen what happens when you have to rely on younger guys. You think about Tucker Holloway, which is like one of my favorite people to watch, but he's coming off of an injury. You know what I'm saying? What kind of production does he have? You know, is he going to be primarily on kick return? Is he or punt return? Is he going to be kind of back to his old self? You get these young guys in, are they going to play? Like you got this kid here who kind of has a body of work. So you got the opportunity to get him. Let's grab him. So I was excited for it. I don't know how I haven't been on Twitter much lately, man. So I don't know kind of how people perceived it. But when I seen it, I've seen the kid a little bit, you know, just from kind of watching sports. I've kind of seen him pop up on some highlights and, of course, seen some of his tape and things like that. And I'm like, I think that was a pretty good get. And the more I dug into it, like, I like it. I'm not gassing it because I'm not gassing nothing. Like, we can get Tom Brady in the building and I'm still going to be like, well, you know, whatever. But I'm just saying, I do like that. It looked nice.
Yeah, and you know, when we think about like true deep threats in this offense, you know, we got a couple guys that are probably you haven't seen enough of to feel like you can rely on. Thinking of Chance Wiggins in this case, you got a returning from injury Tucker Holloway, and you don't really have much else as far as true deep threats. And so you get a guy like this that has that in his toolbox. That's only going to help. Consistency within the wide receiver room and consistency from the offense and being able to attack downfield.
Yeah. See, I kind of, and y'all kind of hit it in every way. I kind of said this was almost like a safety blanket pickup because not necessarily the skill level of those young guys, but it's the no production there, right? Or very small production numbers. And sometimes you just want that guy that, you know, we've seen this, like Tally said, I've seen him play. I've seen his highlights. He's out there on the field. Not saying Chance and Keelan, y'all gonna get in trouble with Miss Lester.
You better get it right.
Calling him Brody. I don't do that. He's Keelan, okay?
Keelan,
right.
Keelan Adams. All right. I'm gonna end up beating her one day. She's like, "Thank you for calling Keelan." But I think that's out there. I think that's why that happened. It was just like we need one more production piece because even if these young guys blow up, to y'all's point, we're one piece away from somebody going down and being the same damn place we were last year. And, you know, by the way, shout out Fontel. I told the boys this. I'll tell you this, Kolby. I ran into Fontel on Friday. Trader Joe's here in Richmond. Just walking. There he is, standing, getting some shopping done. Said he was up to see his mama for the day. Shout out Coach Miles. Good talking with you a couple minutes there. But I like it because now you look at that room and you're like, you've got proven guys. You got these young, skillful guys. Let's see if we can roll something. But, you know, try not to gas it. I'm going to gas a little more than Tally. Let's hit one last – well, actually, there's two because I want to talk about the long snapper in a second here because it's an incredible story. I can't remember if you wrote it or Amber wrote it, Kolby, but I just want to talk about him. But let's talk about Garrett Rangel, quarterback coming out of Oklahoma State. Where did this come from? Was it something already with Monty? Did somebody else have a relationship with him? Because he'd been their backup for a couple years, had played in several games. So it wasn't like it was just, oh, I'm sitting on the bench and I don't want to do that because he ain't starting here right away.
Yeah, no. When you talk about initially with this recruitment, there were murmurs about maybe looking to bring in another quarterback with the presumption. I mean, pretty much all spring, it was sort of writing on the wall that Davie Belfort was going to be transferring and looking elsewhere this spring. So then you look behind Kyron and Pop, and you got two kids who just went to their proms. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these guys are 17, 18 years old. That's what I think about. Like when I'm standing out there for spring practice and I look around at all the early enrollees, and these, I mean, essentially high school players are playing against fifth-year guys. It really is crazy to think about. So when you sort of think about that situation, think about how many times Pop had to play last year, and he went into the year as quarterback number 3. So this year, instead of sitting on Pop, who redshirted, had a lot, he early enrolled and redshirted and then necked last year. So this year, if you're in that situation, you're playing Keldon Ryan or AJ Brand, who a year ago that time were playing high school football. So I think that was just the big situation. Coach Montgomery bringing a new offensive coordinator. He obviously hasn't recruited a quarterback to the school yet. This is someone he was familiar with, felt comfortable with, and was looking for a new spot as well. So it kind of just worked out really organically and well. And this is someone I think Coach Montgomery really likes, obviously, to bring him here, but someone he has a relationship with, and I think someone who he think can throw the ball around the yard a little bit. So that's something in fall camp to watch. Sure, I mean, I might contribute to some crazy fall storylines if we post enough clips of this guy spinning it in the fall.
Yeah, and it's a guy that, you know, has – it's not a one-year rental either. It's a guy that has a, you know, couple years of eligibility. So it's going to be, I think, a good thing to both short-term and long-term push Pop, but also, you know, looking in the short term, you're looking at, you know, that emergency quarterback situation where, you know, we got to quarterback 3 last year, even though we had a couple injuries here or there, and all of a sudden you're playing your third string quarterback. So not having to play a guy that was just fresh out of high school, and really honestly up until this point should still be in high school. You know, both of those kids, you know, under a normal track. So you didn't really want to get yourself into that situation where you're, you know, a true freshman getting out there significant minutes, you know, especially breaking into a new offense and all those things. So, you know, love having a guy that's at least seen some live snaps at the college level, has already been in a system for a little bit, kind of understands what being a quarterback at this level is all about. So that's going to be important, and I think that's going to be good for us from a depth perspective heading into the fall.
You're the owner of a small business, which means you could use another pair of hands, like the experts at Verizon Small Business Days, August 11th through 17th. Get a free tech check and special deals like a free 5G phone. You know you want one. Call 1-800-483-4428 or visit verizon.com/smallbusiness to book your appointment. Verizon Business. Available for select 5G phones. New line device payment agreement and select data plan required. Credit applied to account over agreement term up to 36 months. Terms apply. Offer ends 8/17/2025.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Anything tally on this?
Not really, man. It kind of hit everything that you can hit on that situation. It's just like, I guess the only thing I'll say is I seen the video of Keldon Ryan and I think it was Jeff Overton and AJ Brand doing I think it was Break the Ice. Is that what it's called? Yeah. So I seen that on Instagram, and Keldon Ryan does not look like he was just at prom. He looks like a grown ass man. I know when I was in 12th grade or even a freshman in college, I did not have facial hair like that. And I wasn't that big. So he looked grown, man. But again, I think that at this point, you just can't be desperate. You know what I'm saying? Like, we can't get into games and be – I mean, you could be desperate at the beginning to – that's not the right word. You don't want to be desperate. You want to be prepared, but you want to be able to do what it takes to win. So if you have to mix some things up to win, sure. You don't want to get in a game and go, we can't run the ball because we don't have a running back that we trust. Yeah. Or we can't do this because we don't have a quarterback. So bringing in another quarterback, you got to do it. You know what I'm saying? And you can't play scared ball. You can't go, well, we don't want to make our starting quarterback mad because bringing this other guy in is going to – man –
can't do that.
Once injuries happen, There is a transfer portal. You know, I know that there's always talks of, you know, I'm here to the end, and you just never know what's going to happen nowadays. So great pickup to go pick up somebody who has played. What I love to see when we bring somebody in is somebody has you got some kind of experience. You know what I'm saying? You're able to get into a game and look like you've been there. Even with like College Lee last year, right?
Yeah.
You know, when we brought him in, it was kind of a shock that we brought him in to me. I was thinking like, why they bring this dude in? But in the long-term scheme of things, I mean, when he got on the field, he looked like he knew what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? So it was a much different quarterback than somebody who's just fresh out of high school, to have somebody with some college experience and kind of knows the speed of the game. So picking up the quarterback and bringing him in, you know, especially with Kyron kind of being on ice right now, you know, praying that all of his recovery is great when he comes back, and he comes back, you know, better than he was last year, just because we didn't get to see the full potential of what he was because of injuries. So, yeah, I just love competition, man. Like I tell my kid all the time, you know, if you don't like competition, don't play sports. If you just want somebody to put you there because you're supposed to be there, you don't need to play. So I say when Pryor was on this show, what did he say, Curtis? I'm bringing in somebody to take your spot.
Yes, all right. He said that the first time we ever talked to him. I am bringing somebody in to take your job.
You gotta live by that, especially when you're 6 and 16, 6 and 7. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta have that mentality. So,
and I love it, Brian. You mentioned it. And I think we'll wrap this one up with this. You said it perfectly. Pop now cannot get comfortable. Pop has got to push himself as hard as he did last year to keep up with Schlee, because it's like, you know what? You got the experience last year. We know you can get on the field and play, but we also don't want to be in that situation where last year we had to throw Pop in the game for the first time, and he did okay. And it was great to see that really all that preparation got him ready. But we're sitting back here. Do we want to put AJ or Keldon in that situation if something screwed up happens? Because, you know, that's the luck of the Hokies. Some's liable screwed up. Instead, you get to – I'm not saying keep them on ice, but you get them – Brian, you said it, their developmental path. You guys are not going to play this year. We now have 3 quarterbacks. Kyron started a bunch of games. Pop started some games. He's got on the field. And – you know, Garrett Rangel has played in 13 games, thrown almost 200 passes in 3 seasons. That's a lot of passes. So I think we're at a good spot there. All right. Real quick, Kolby, I don't want to go into everything about him, any long snapper, but for those who didn't get a read on it, just give us a little bit, because you wrote an article back in April about Drew Doyle, and I read it a couple days ago. And I didn't have his name on here at first, and then I threw it on here because what a story, right, for this guy.
Yeah, I don't have it up right now. Like I said, I'm in the Outer Banks, but I mean, just a quick synopsis of him. Obviously, long snapper, maybe not the most glamorous pickup of the transfer portal, but if everyone remembers how a bad exchange on a long snap can go. You know, I'm not going to go much further, but you know, it's from the place where I'm from, where it happened. So, anyways, but
yes.
So, long snapper, very important. Anyways, but look, going back to Drew Doyle, what an incredible story. Someone who went and served in the U.S. Navy, then went to Iowa State as a walk-on after he finished his service, I believe 4 years. I don't want to misquote it. I believe he served 4 years, then went to Iowa State to continue his education, walked onto the football team, and now to go enter the transfer portal, coming to Virginia Tech. Obviously, such a massive emphasis on the Corps cadets. I think just a really incredible story to have someone go and continue their educational and playing career, which is really amazing. So I think, obviously, I don't think you could have hurt for that leadership to have in the locker room. I don't think there is any. I can't relate personally, but obviously a football locker room has a great brotherhood, but I would imagine that the U.S. Navy has an incredible brotherhood. So anytime you can bring a leader like that into the locker room, I think that's a great add.
100%. In reading the story here, 4 years. You remembered your story you wrote well, Kolby, just a few weeks ago. 4 years in the Navy, walked on, got a preferred walk-on spot once he came on. So he was basically borderline about to be on a scholarship. But Tally, you're going to love this. He was a combat medic. We got somebody on the sideline now that can work on these guys when we get hurt.
Hopefully we don't get hurt, but yeah, hopefully that's good that we can do that.
I feel like half the show we've been talking about, but injuries happen. Injuries happen.
Injuries happen.
You know, it's
Hokie
crazy
way,
because
man.
like I feel like, you know, either those injury bugs hit you so hard it's just so debilitating, or it's like it kind of just flutters around you a little bit. There's never like a middle ground where you're like comfortable. It's either it stays away or it like just completely runs through you and debilitates you.
It's right in your face, constant, and you're like, he's hurt. We're hurt again. Jeezy. All right, let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. And obviously the defensive line was the standout room for that side. And each guy probably has their own story and how they arrived. But for you, kind of looking through them, Kolby, and kind of thinking back as you were, you know, reading what's going on with them, seeing where they're coming from, what kind of stood out for you on each of these guys? You got Cody Hussman, Elijah Fall, and Emmanuel Hickman.
Yeah, I'll go down the list and just kicking it back to what Tally said earlier. It's all about the trenches. When you build out any football team, you got to start in the trenches. Obviously, new offensive coordinator's got to get his line straight. New defensive coordinator wants to get his front look straight. So coming in, you mentioned Cody Heisman, the kid from North Dakota State. That was a guy initially in the portal they set their eyes on, targeted, and they're really, really, really high on. Now, don't get me wrong, Kamari Copeland and Kelvin Gilliam, I think you can pencil in maybe almost in Sharpie now. I think those two guys with the spring and what they've done on the field here, obviously for Gilliam, and the way they've led themselves in the locker room, in the classroom, outside of the field, I think those two guys you can maybe pencil in as starters. There's going to be a lot of rotations, odd fronts, different fronts. This is a guy who's going to factor in a lot, I think. Cody Heisman, someone who's going to make a big impact, someone they set out for to get and to land. I think they love his body type, what he brings. He was all MVFC, I believe, is the conference, what it's called. Okay. And someone who I think is going to factor in pretty heavily. Then you go down, oh my gosh, I'm going to mess up his name. I'm so sorry. Elhad Fall, I believe is how you say it. But this is someone I talked to. I talked to, and before the visit, he was excited. After the visit, said it went well, and then it sort of seemed like one of those deals where maybe he was going to fizzle out just because he was going to go on another visit or something. And then I'm at the golf course, I'm on the putting green, and I get a notification he committed. So it was just one of those things where there was smoke around it, but it seemed like something that was going to drag out, and then just all of a sudden he was in the boat. So I believe he has 2 years of eligibility left, coming from Georgia Southern, someone with multiple years. You got to, like, it's the trenches. It's hard to find these guys who are walking around 290, 295 pounds. So you just got to load up there. And then Emmanuel Hickman, you want to talk about maybe someone who didn't surprise me leaving, someone who surprised me coming in. This was the one true that caught me way off guard. I was monitoring Michael Short, which happened, I believe, 10, 15 minutes right after this. But I had just gotten my Qdoba Bowl from Turner's Hall, if anyone's familiar with the Virginia Tech campus. I'm coming back. It's a beautiful day. I'm sitting on my patio, and all of a sudden, I see Emmanuel Hickman, and I had to scramble and catch myself up with this. But this is someone, I believe, with 1 year left. He's played a ton of college football. I think started at East Carolina, then went down to USF. Didn't play last year, but someone, like I said, the body type, what he can bring, I think he'll also factor on the field with a one year left. And when you bring in all these guys, I think for the fans, for just everything, it can get discouraging when you hear so much about Emmett Laws, Gerard Johnson, even James Jeanette, just guys, specifically those guys, but Andrew Hanchuk, just guys like that who you've recruited and been in the program and look like they're making strides and are making strides. And it's instantly, well, are these guys not doing the right things? Well, no, it's just in the way college football is now, you kind of just, you have to continue, like you guys mentioned, when Pry was on here, I'm bringing in someone to take your spot. And it's not that you guys are doing anything wrong. It's just every single day, the man next to you is going to be competing and wanting to take what's yours. So I'm still think, and spring-wise, Emmett and Gerard Johnson specifically, even Christian Evans, early enrollee, Christian Evans, I thought had a really great spring. So overall, I think the defensive line room's in a great place, but that doesn't mean take your foot off the gas. And because with how many fronts and substitutions I think they're going to be running, I think you're going to want as many of those bodies as you can.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
defensive
and
line,
you're getting
man.
a little. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Tom.
That defensive
Callie.
line has quietly been. I don't even want to say quietly, but they've been doing some work, man. When you start to think about all of the portal ads that they had, and I know people be jumping on JC, man. I always like JC, but people was jumping on JC saying he couldn't recruit or he spent too much time at Sharkies or whatever. I don't know, wherever the place is that he like to go, Drake. But I'm like, man, when you start to look at the names and look at the production that they brought in, the people we ain't even seen, like what's the kid named the redhead kid, Ben Bell?
Yep.
Bell. Yeah,
Bell. You think about Bell and Ginger Freak. Yeah, then these three guys, like the people that you already have there, it's like you have to have, we keep saying it, you have to have a lot of different pieces that can fit that puzzle. And I feel like they're trying to get there. Not desperation, but I feel like the heat is on. I feel like Pry's the coach and the coaching staff. I do think this is the best coaching staff he's had since he's been here. I'll say that. So I'm going to be mad sometimes. I'm being calm because Kolby's here. I got to act right in front of my boy. But I do feel like this is the best coaching staff that he's had while he's been here. But I do feel like there is a sense of urgency with what I've seen them doing as far as the additions that they're bringing and the production that they're bringing. It's not like, well, we can develop this person and this, but like they're trying to do something to generate some production and wins now. You know what I'm saying? So what Kolby said, when you're thinking about some of the young guys, like, man, if I don't get it done this year, shoot, I might not be here to coach you. I got to make something happen now. We at least got to have the trajectory going the right way so I can get these fans off my back. So I think that they are, you know what I'm saying, kind of moving in the right direction. I was hesitant to say it, but I do think they're moving in the right direction, man. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see like what we have, which route the schemes go, and the players as well.
Yeah, I think Tally, your concern is this too little, too late? Not that these aren't good moves. Is it too little, too late? And you know, I'll say this. You know, talking about Cody Heisman, when I see and hear 6'4", 283, I'm like, that's going to be an odd man front DN right there. That's like prototypical size when you go odd front. So that's what I expect him to kind of slot in as. I don't think he's necessarily going to be that front line guy on an even front, but he's probably going to be one of the guys coming in when we go with some of those odd front looks. So excited to see what he can do in that capacity. The other two I feel like are definitely going to be those interior guys, you know, 295 plus in both cases, you know, 6'3", 6'4". These guys are going to still be shooting gaps, but they're also going to be occupying blockers at the same time. And I'm excited that we're getting more bodies in there, because when we talk about offensive line is all about your best five and then having some depth. Defensive line is all about how many bodies can you send out there. Keep those bodies fresh. You need to be at least 2 deep, if not 3 deep at every position on the defensive line to feel like you're in a good place. And so the more bodies we get in that capacity, the better.
My question about what's his name, Cody Heisman or Cody Hoosman or whatever his name. My question, I have not looked at him at all. Like, does he have long hair? Is his hair long?
No.
His hair is not long. He's got to grow his hair out, because any white boy that plays on a defensive line at Virginia Tech with long hair, like, they usually do a good job. When you go back to like Gerard Hewitt or even like Vinny Mahota or something, not saying they got to be a superstar, but they just made plays. He's got to have some hair hanging out of his helmet, and I think he's gonna be all right.
No disrespect to Cody, but he looks like a white kid from Iowa.
Yeah, no, we gotta grow that hair out, man. It gets cold up there in Blacksburg. We gotta let him grow that hair out.
Let's make sure we clip this section. We'll make this a reel and put it out there on Instagram so Cody sees it. And by August, Kolby will text us, be like, "It's to his back already.
It's grown out.
It's grown out." He listened to you.
I need shoulder length by the end of August.
It's got to be defensive line. Defensive line. Sometimes that don't work out. Shit. You know what I'm saying? Defensive line though, when that hair is hanging out, like, man, they make some plays. So
they bad. And
it bodes well for Ben Bell then.
Oh man, That kid got a head full of hair. So does Youngkin.
He's a stud, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's already kind of proven it down in Texas State. Like, I mean, got to have 10 sacks a couple years ago. Like, you know what he's doing. I'll say this, and I wanted to – y'all kind of hit on it in variations, but I think the other reason this was done, because y'all mentioned Gerard Johnson, we mentioned Emmanuel Laws, and they're taking steps, they're looking good. But when the average college football offense snaps the ball 75 times a game, that's about the average, right? That's not the low end, that's not the high end, because you got some teams running 90 plays, you got some are slowing it down. I think these guys are brought in more so to say, not that we don't trust you, but you aren't there to take 25 snaps a game. By the time you get to 15, you're going to be
rotating.
You got to keep rotating. But in this case, with having these guys who have experience, you probably know they're game shaped ready. You got Copeland, you got Gilliam already. We slip these guys in. Now we can introduce Laws and Gerard in 8 to 12 snaps a game. We ain't killing them.
And see, they kind of
and
they kind of did a little bit of that last year. Was like, what's the kid's name? He looked really good last year.
Asen Stevens.
Asen Stevens, right?
Asen Stevens,
so you got all these kids, you got all these people that we depended on, and the names we were hearing. Like nobody talked about Asen Stevens at the beginning of the year. Then he pops in the game, and you're like, who the hell is that? Why does he look bigger than all the rest of them? And he goes in and he does not like jumping off the page as far as stats goes, but he does a good job. You know what I'm saying? You can do that when you have depth. Like that's a football team. Like you said, you're running all these plays and then you're able to interject some of these guys in, or you know that this kid has some upside, like an Emmett Laws, because Emmett Laws is a smaller guy to be playing defensive line, right? But
no,
you don't
not anymore. Tally. He's 295 now, dude. He ain't small no more.
Right. I'm thinking height-wise, though. So, size-wise, he's about where he's supposed to be. But you know what I'm saying? You think, like, he's a young guy, but you know he's got some talent, but you don't want to force him to play. You know what I'm saying? When you think about in the past, we had somebody maybe like a Josh Fugel. Josh Fugel should have gave you 15 snaps a game, maybe 20 snaps a game. But then when you start to get into the 30 snaps a game with a player like that, it kind of looks like he falls off or he's out of place or something like that. So bringing in that extra help and bringing in that extra depth, man, I think it's going to bode well for us. And I'm interested to see, like I said, kind of what Cephas does. I hope I got his name right. He looks like, to me, like young enough where he can do some innovative stuff, you know, not just old school. We don't do this. This is the only thing that works. Sometimes you got to change to your players. And he looks like a guy that can do that. Kind of doing a little bit of research on him. He seems like a guy that'll do that as well. That's why I feel like we're bringing in some different guys with some different skill sets. So another thing that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, he seems like a guy that's going to do a couple things. He's going to keep things as simple as they need to be while still being confusing and complex when looking at it from an offensive standpoint. But at the same time is going to not only adapt to take away the strength of what the offense is doing to it, but also adapt to the strengths of the personnel that he has. And that's what kind of being multiple and having these different ways to align and assign in the defense are important.
Hey, I got to bring something up. What Jim put that comment that Jim Gilmore put up. You see it? No, not Jim West. James Gilmore. I'm sorry, James Gilmore. Yeah, put that up. You should have just looked at him and said, "Why?" That's what you should have said. Why, man? Why didn't you help the offensive line when you was here? You went to coach offensive line. Why didn't you help? Why? That's all I'm gonna say about that. Go ahead, Curtis.
All right, let's jump over to the linebacker room because trust, if his Tally was on that flight, Tally would have.
I'm asking. I gotta ask.
You gotta ask him. Hey, what's going on? Let's go to the linebacker room because obviously a room that they moved Cam Fleming there. They were hoping a couple other guys. Maybe McDonald will take one more step. Nobody popped. So right then you're sitting there with Gabe Williams' injury. It's literally Caleb, Jaden, and Caleb Spencer. And maybe George Balance on short yard situations based on what we saw in the spring game. That's not a lot of depth. So these guys have played somewhat. So do you think the selling point was probably these guys, you're going to play. We're going to rotate. You ain't going to be sitting on the bench getting or just special team snaps. You're going to play. Do you think that was the selling point to both Short and Santiago?
Yeah, I mean, 100% that comes into it. When you look at that linebacker room, overall the talent is higher, but you look at a Gabe Williams, someone who's obviously injury in that Clemson game, tragic, but someone you're probably not going to be counting on this fall. You look at, why was his name slipping me? Jordan Bass, someone who you bring in, talent level, you know the measurables, but he's still 206, maybe 210 now.
Right.
Light, coming off an injury. You don't know if it's going to happen this fall. You'd love to have him in the room, but just you got to think about, like Tally's saying, you don't know if you're going to make it. You got to play this fall. So, and then you talk about obviously Caleb Woodson, Jaden Keller, Caleb Spencer, and then George Balance there. You have the two. Clatterball went through early enrollee. You have Noah Chambers coming in this summer. So you got bodies in that room, but you got to talk about live reps. And Michael Short, he's only 2 years of eligibility, maybe only 1 year playing. I believe he had 23 tackles last year, mid-70s PFF grade. But he was a special teams captain for UNC. He played so many special team snaps. He did all the little things. Didn't maybe rotate in as much at linebacker, but this is someone they are really high on. Michael Short, I think, could factor pretty heavily in. And that's not to take away from Caleb Spencer. I think Caleb Spencer, honestly, body-wise, everything-wise, maybe will surprise people most this fall. But I think you had to go out and obviously mess with that linebacker room. And Michael Short, I think, someone who can do it on both phases of special teams and defense. And I think the measurable 6'3", maybe 6'2", 225, 230. I mean, that is what you want. Antoine Santiago's still kind of in that same ballpark where he's not a 5'10 backer sitting around 200, 210. These are big linebackers on the inside, not afraid of contact. They can move well, which is what I think you're looking for. So Santiago, I think, is a little bit more I believe the quote was that we had in an article or from someone, his best ball's ahead of him, maybe more projected upside, but you got to bring that into the room. When you mentioned where it was and what's available to have someone who can go, run, and hit and strike, and someone who can eat up field and be meshed and still has a couple years left, I think you got to take him. And then Michael Short, I think, is someone who they believe could factor in potentially immediately, depending how camp goes. So I think really great pickups, something you had to do when you look at that room. So we're really valuable gets here late in the spring, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Both, like you said, size-wise is about 6'3", 230, 240, 6'3", 6'4". That's much different than a 5'10", even 6-foot backer. You know what I'm saying? No disrespect to Brumfield. I think Brumfield's a great guy, but playing in the ACC when he came here from where he came from was much different than what he's seen, you know? And you could kind of see that when he came up to make tackles, could be in the right place, maybe a little light because the running backs that you're hitting, the linemen that you're taking on, it takes a toll on you. So you got to have a little bit more mass, I guess, to be as much crap as people talk about the ACC. Is still a pretty big football conference. So getting those linebackers in, like Kolby said, with the size that is at least the standard, I'm guessing, because they're both about the same size. Yep. So I'm guessing when they're looking at a linebacker, they're probably saying we want them to be about 6'3" and about 230. Yeah, because that's what they went and got. You
look at Woodson. So, look at Woodson. And, we go through spring, and like when I'm in spring, it's all about the people who haven't popped. Maybe I didn't even give the flowers to Caleb Woodson. That guy through hunger drills. What he did to his body is someone, because he played a lot last year, and he played, I think, overall really well last year. Someone who maybe didn't get his flowers through springs is almost expected the standard, someone who's going to be there. But I think this is someone who is really going to step up and lead this defense this year. So I think when you look at Woodson, that is honestly the prototypical running mate they want to have. And I think they found two guys who they can mesh and build into that. And Caleb Spencer, I know a lot of people haven't seen him since last year, was playing that star position, carrying a little less weight. He has done an incredible job with Coach Ferg in the weight room. He looks, very similar. I think by fall camp, he could really make a push there.
I gotta go take a look at him because he jumped off of tape a lot of times when he was in, and then he just kind of fell off like we didn't see him anymore. Later in the spring, later in the season and stuff. So I don't know what happened, but I remember watching him and was like, dang, man, he could move. And, he could hit. He did a lot of stuff good from what I remember. But I also remember we just didn't see him anymore. Maybe missed a couple tackles, and then I don't know if he gets in the doghouse with the coaching staff, whatever the case is. But to hear you, boots on the ground, talk about what he looks like, what his body looks like, he's taking it serious. That's energetic to me. You know what I'm saying? To make me think like, okay, if he's hitting the weight room and he's taking it serious like this, he's ready to take that next step. You got to have guys like that, because I remember looking at Caleb Woodson, most people should, but I remember looking at Caleb Woodson, I think it was at the spring game, when they were introducing the new freshman, and I was like, yeah, Curtis, that dude's going to be good, man. Like, he just came out of high school and looks like that. Like, how do you come out of high school looking like that, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, my mama didn't have enough money to feed me for me to look like that, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't have the mind to go to the weight room to look like that. But a lot of these guys kind of, man, they that's what they do now. And that Caleb Woodson build, like you said, is probably about what a Virginia Tech linebacker should look like. What a linebacker in general.
Okay, 100%. Real quick, people might be saying undersized linebackers, this isn't going to work. This is every linebacker that was on Arizona's squad last year. 6'2", 238, 6'1", 228, 6'2", 225, 6', 225, 6'2", 229, 6'3", 230, 6'1", 246. Guess what? The linebackers we currently have literally fit that mold.
Right.
Like that is NFL guys. That's not other college guys. That's NFL players that Sam Cephas coached in that defense last year. Brian, what you got?
Well, I think this thing, and I'll let Kolby jump in on James's comment here in just a second. But you were comparing those sizes. But when we talk about this type of defense and being multiple and being having some flexibility and some position fluidity, you're not going to have those like prototypical 3-4 inside linebackers like your Ray Lewis's and stuff like that. You're not going to have guys that need to be 250. But still run sideline to sideline. They're still going to be a little bit lighter. And I think that plays into how we can recruit, because we've shown a propensity to be able to recruit not necessarily undersized linemen, but not necessarily linebackers that would fit, hand in glove in the SEC. We've always been a little bit more undersized than that type of linebacker. And I've been as far as who we're able to recruit consistently. And I think this kind of plays into where our bread and butter is from that perspective, both in the footprint where we recruit and just historically the guys that we've been able to bring in.
Yeah, I'll jump in. James, appreciate you dropping that in. Difference in explosiveness or energy. Yeah, I mean, I think overall there was a heightened sense of urgency, intensity, focus on every position group, every segment of, from periods 1 to period 40, it was locked in. Ball security, you didn't have guys messing around. Locked in. And I think that was the new coordinators, obviously trickling down to the position coaches. A lot were the same. Obviously, you have Matt Moore, Coach Wilson, some other guys. But there was definitely heightened intensity of understanding what was at stake. And I think a lot of that trickles down from Ferg. We're not in there for hunger drills, but just even hearing personal accounts, secondhand accounts. Yes, there was a different level through all of winter workouts and hunger drills. And yes, Coach Ferg, if there's one thing to hang the hat on, I think physically, and I think you'll see it, I think they'll be physically in better shape, more prepared, ready for the season.
That is great to hear. Great to hear. All right, we got one last group to hit here. And one last player to hit, and that is Caleb Brown, the most, to me, one of the more interesting players, because he is coming to us via Hawaii. He is coming to us, though, via, let me get the right, I want to make sure I pronounce this correct, Lithania Springs, Georgia, which is right on the Alabama line, because he's from Pinson, Alabama, but he went to Georgia for high school.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Went to Georgia High School, and I was doing some background on him. Did some stuff at Georgia Southern. Is this something that maybe Jyree Wilson had a hand in getting him in through the door? Because I look elsewhere, it's like we don't recruit that area that much, but he's obviously, you look at his stat lines and stuff, he's played some solid ball out in the Mountain West last few years.
To be honest with you, Curtis, I don't know if Coach Wilson had a relationship here initially with him. I think this is just one where the portal is an open book, and Coach Jones is being really selective with who he wants to bring in through high school and the college ranks. And we'll talk about it a little bit if we go a little more large scale on this cornerback room. But what they've brought in, I think he feels really comfortable. But going back to Sebo, I believe is his nickname, Caleb Brown, someone who is going to almost be a plug-and-play guy. I came out with an article a couple days ago, whatever, top spring portal guys. I think he was either 3 or 4 that I listed, because this is someone, obviously, with the unfortunate, it looks like Josh Clark's going to miss the season, someone who I thought was having a really great spring and was going to be able to factor in on the outside there. You kind of have to go out there and find you a – not saying this player is similar in stature or size to Derek Canteen, but sort of that guy who can plug in and seen a lot of college football and can help those younger guys out, because you're going to have Dante Lovett and some other guys we'll talk about here in a second. But this is someone who can play outside, maybe is a little on the lighter side, I believe, listed at 160 at Hawaii. I don't know how accurate that is. We'll find out in the fall, but has seen a lot of college football. Like you said, played pretty well the last couple seasons out there at Hawaii. So Coach Jones is being selective. So this is someone that fits his bill. He's had a decent track record the last couple of years with obviously bringing in Delane and what he's developed with Strong. So I think this is someone who's going to factor in and play a lot this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting seeing guys come into that room. I think that when we were looking at kind of post-spring, I think we had circled cornerback as being one of those where we felt like we needed to get one more guy in that room, especially a plug-and-play type player that you feel comfortable with. You probably feel really good about your one. I think you feel okay about the guy opposite him, and then after that, it's like, I think we can manage for a little bit. I don't know if they can hold up for a whole game or multiple games, back to back. We probably need at least one more guy in there that we feel really confident about, and not looking at nickel, just looking at the outside guys.
Yeah.
And I think we kind of we get that with Sebo, and I think that's going to be. We'll see if that's going to be enough depth for this crew to hold up, and we can kind of talk about that a little bit. How are y'all feeling about the overall depth in that room? And Kolby, I'll let you lead off on that.
I was about to say I agree with you on that, but I'll tell you what. If you want to look outside of nickel, you obviously have Isaiah Brown Murray from ECU. Looks like he's going to slot in there. You got Knowledge Harrell, who, if we don't even want to count him as a nickel, he can play outside shoot. He can maybe even slide back to safety with the way his body, really versatile.
He looks so good in spring.
That's what I don't want to do this, but I'm very close to not telling lies, but I'm just saying, like, the same way last year I was with Keelan Adams, as we'll say, not Brody, someone I thought really popped off, and someone to keep note of is the same way with these true freshman cornerbacks. And nothing against Christian Williams, Thomas Williams. I think they'll have to play a lot this year too, just with the way injuries, rotations. But I'll tell you what, JoJo Krim, Jamari DeLoach, and Knowledge Harrell are 3 guys who are ready, are not afraid of anyone, which is what you need to be a cornerback lining up against these guys. And they're not afraid, and you even saw it in the spring game. Like, these are guys who are ready to go and get after it. So I think those guys are ready to play, speaking on depth.
Yeah, when you talk about getting on the field early, I've said it before, like, cornerback is probably one of the positions it's not easy to do it on any level, but cornerback's probably one of the easier places to get on the field early, because that is mainly skill and instincts. Most linemen to come in, for a lineman to come in and start as a true freshman, kind of unheard of. Like, you got to be really, really fucking good to do that. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then you have a quarterback that can come in and play early like that. But cornerbacks, receivers, it's just like, I need you to guard this guy. You mirror him. And some guys just got it. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge Harrell has it. Like, out of all those guys that he mentioned is good, but I'm telling you, Knowledge Harrell, if he stays at Virginia Tech for 3 to 4 years, you'll see this guy go to the league. You know, I mean, he's going to go wherever he goes, barring, you know, injury or getting hurt or trouble. I'm not speaking any of that, but I'm just saying wherever he decides to leave from college-wise, I think we'll hear his name called in the draft. I don't want to go to where he'll go. I just look at his skill set, look at what he's done, look at how he transitioned from high school to college. Another kid that's supposed to be going to prom, you know what I'm saying? But he's at the spring game guarding college wide receivers. You know what I'm saying? And some of our wide receivers are big and physical, man. Like Aiden Green, not a small dude. You know, he's played a lot of football. You know,
Chance Wiggins,
the other Green brother. You know what I'm saying? Cam Seldon. These are guys that have played football at a high level. You know, and you got these kids that are coming in. It's like, I'll guard them, no problem.
Yeah,
JoJo Crim, the same. Like
it's right here.
They want to play, man, and that's the selling point that you have at Virginia Tech when you're somebody like, you know, Coach Pry or Coach Jones. That the one thing I can offer you is you got the opportunity to get on the field early. You know what I'm saying? Like that is what our selling point is at a school like Virginia Tech. And so I love it, man. I'm glad to see the kids going in and competing. And hell, I want to be like, well, who is this? You know what I'm saying? Who is that jumping off the page? Who is this? So I'm interested to see what they do. Back to what we said as far as, you know, bringing in Sebo. Didn't know much about him, but all of the things that we've talked about, it definitely makes sense because as we've been saying this whole, you know, broadcast, like you got to be able to have the bodies. You got to be able to plug some people in and see who's going to compete to get that playing time. So I'm definitely interested to see what we do in that and on the back end like that.
I think something's in the water down there at Green Run because, I mean, they've had some guys come in and contribute right away.
Yeah.
And, I mean, hopefully we got another one in the trenches that might be coming this way as well sometime in the near future.
We need
it.
But
y'all got my hopes up. I mean, Kolby, you really got my hopes up. And Tally's over here talking about knowledge because we've seen it, right?
Knowledge.
We've seen it.
Knowledge Harold's he's going to be good, man. I'm telling you.
Well, we think about it. Think about Brandon Faison years ago when he came on. I know, Kolby, you're a younger guy, but you were probably old enough to remember Faison's like, he's a true freshman? Like, and he balled.
Yeah.
Kendall was the same way. Macho was the same way. And Tally's 100% right. That is the position because in so many things, it's either this is your area, protect your zone, or you got to man him, mirror him.
Yeah.
It's basically you got to have the mentality that you want it. And like Knowledge Harold's a guy, he's 5'11", 185. He's already a college football size. Yeah. He's ready to play.
Those might be not even right. Like, I don't know if he could be heavier than 185, honestly.
Really?
Maybe, yeah. So,
like
that's
he's
what
already
I'm
bigger.
They can even shift that guy back to safety eventually. Like, he could play anywhere back there.
Yeah, he's got it, man. I'm telling you, like, we won't even go into rankings and stuff like that because we know how everybody feels about rankings. And he's only a 3-star, he's only a 4-star, whatever. He committed early. I'm telling you, you go put on the tape. You ain't even got to put on tape because high school don't matter. Go look at these people playing now. Look at what they're doing now. It's so many, like, you can follow anybody on social media and find out some stuff about them, their workouts, what they're doing when they're competing. You can go look at somebody like Knowledge Harold. And first of all, I've never seen a kid named Knowledge. He got to be famous. Like, he's got to make it with a name like Knowledge Harold, right? I've never heard that name. So just looking at him, looking at the body of work that he's already compiled, it's like same as we thought. Look at Chris done hopped on here. What's up, Chris?
He late tonight.
Yeah,
late.
Man. It's been Mother's Day, all type of stuff going on. Ain't no telling with Chris. But when you just look at what I do like what Pry's done, and I don't want to go off into another tangent, is that I got to get a man props because I'm so pissed because I hate losing, but I got to give him props about what he's been able to bring to Virginia Tech. As good as some of the things that we've seen what we've seen Fu do as far as on the field, Pry has brought some kids here and some talent that we're not used to. You know what I'm saying? Seeing some of the people who've committed to Virginia Tech, I'm like, man, we ain't seen a kid like that in a long time. Or, you know, some people who's committed and it's like, well, we seen this dude get this good after a while. Some of these kids are coming in like JoJo Prim is ready to play. I'm not saying he's going to play, but if you go watch him, he's ready to play. He can step on the field and play some snaps for you right now. He can't do a whole game, but you can put him on somebody and say, I need you to guard this guy. I need you to guard this area. And something good may happen. So it's been a lot of times where we didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? Even you think about Dorian's an NFL guy.
He is.
Dorian's an NFL guy. But when he came in, nobody looked at him and was like, man, this dude's going to the NFL. He just developed into that, which is great. But some of these kids now, it's just like, man, they got it. So I'm definitely interested to see how much playing time they get. How can we use them? Because I really think that, like I said earlier, I really think that they're in go mode and they understand, like, we're not trying to hold shirts. We're not trying to red shirt some guys, but we got to win. We got to do something. You can't go into these games. You look at Pry's regimen, his resume since he's been here. You cannot go into this year, and I don't want to look at no fucking schedule, so don't nobody ask me to. How many games you're going to win and lose.
I'm just 3 months from now.
As bad as his roster was when he first got here, we can all agree that this roster is better, right? Even though we these guys to the NFL, this roster is still better than when he got here.
100%.
Still was only losing games by touchdowns and 7 points and 6 points and 3 points. It's like, I just want to see this year where he takes that step, whether it's in 2 games or 3 games. You got to get a signature win. You got an opportunity to do that, and you got to win some of those close games that we keep losing. So, come on, Pry. Help me, man. I want to love you. I want to. You know what I'm saying? Help me love you. That's what I want.
Brace the rudders. Raise the sails. Raise the sails.
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
It's summer. Time to enjoy long days, lazy nights, and zero cooking. Because Uber Eats has deals all summer long. So when hunger strikes, don't sweat it. Delicious deals are just a tap away on Uber Eats. Enjoy all your favorite food delivered straight to you. Get Burger King, Subway, Popeyes, and hundreds more local favorites and savor every last bite. Now that sounds like a good summer. Order now on Uber Eats. Terms apply. Product availability varies by region. See app for details.
All righty. There we go.
Anybody see Jim post that the other day?
I saw him post that. Yes, I did. Well, you didn't. Did you see it?
I did.
Did you see it, Colby? Do you follow Jim?
Crazy.
No, I didn't see it.
We'll send that over to you in the message so you can laugh. But Colby, thanks for the time on the portal, giving the background on these guys, letting us kind of shoot the breeze with you about them, about seeing again what we feel like it's all these guys are layered depth and in some way are going to help this program. I'm going to hit one more piece before we wrap it up tonight. I just want to get y'all's take on it. Ross Dellinger, and it's something that's been floating out here probably for about 18 months now, if not a little bit more. Basically, it is looking like more and more we are heading to 16-team playoffs. SEC and the Big Ten throwing the nuts on the table because basically they can because they're getting the most money. They're getting the best players currently right now. Getting 4 auto bids, the ACC and the Big 12 getting 2, 1 G6 now, and then 3 at-larges. And I listen to Josh Pate. Probably a lot of y'all do. He's one of the better voices in college football. And I love what he said to this because you want to talk about having the relevance of regular season being even bigger if this happens, if there are auto bids. And some people are pissed about it. You can't be too upset because they're leveraging their strength. If the ACC had it, guess what Jim Phillips would be doing?
He'd
saying, thing. I want 4 teams. Screw y'all. We deserve 4. But that's neither here nor there. But that whole thing of a regular season champion gets an automatic bid. and then everybody else plays in. First of all, you want to talk about the weekend after Thanksgiving being ungodly, like having those games, like just to be in that mix, right? How much would us sit here and say if they go to this 16-game playoff that we didn't win the regular season, we're third though, we can get in? You're talking about people clamoring in the last few weeks of the season, but what do y'all think of it? Too much, too little? You hate it, you love it? Kolby, since you're the esteemed guest here, what do you think of this?
Well, I think you bring up a good point there. I mean, once they started expansion, they were never going to stop expanding. So from 12 to 16, it was always going to keep going up. And, I mean, personally, I think it's a little crazy that we're having college players play 16, 17, 18 games, and now you're seeing them play into late February. You're starting spring practice right after he's played the national championship. But, I mean, you talk about those regular seasons. I don't know if you're going off. I didn't see the most recent Dellinger thing. He does incredible work covering all of the behind the scenes. But I know Pate and some other people have talked about making the regular season really matter. And I think that's what makes college football stand out against, every other sport is the regular season. When you had the Final Four teams, it was, well, if you lose one game, you're probably out. So it really heightens that. But you talk about with this expansion, within these conference standings, if you're the Big Ten, if you're the ACC, there's no collective bargaining. So, yes, for now, of course, every conference is going to have to lobby for themselves. But for the ACC, you have those top two teams in the regular season. If you get that automatic bid, and I know he's talking about, I don't know in the ACC if they only get two bids, but in the Big Ten and SEC, the 3 and the 4 team, the 3 would play the 6 and the 4 would play the 5 in like a simulated championship game weekend. And then those two teams would get in automatically as opposed to the whatever. But then you talk about the at-large teams. What if the at-large team was the 3 seed in the SEC and then they lose that SEC championship game? So I don't know. I think it's just going to end up being a lot more games. But I think it's exciting because you talk about that last weekend at Thanksgiving. I think they are going to simulate some entertainment because there are going to be a lot of races that come down to the end year in and year out in every conference. So I think it's going to be exciting. Maybe I'm a little bit of a purist where I thought 4 was great. It added a different element. It's just from 16, where do we go in 3 years when the next cycle's up? It's just you can't play 64. You can't put 64 teams in a tournament. So there's got to be a hard stop somewhere.
I thought 12 was honestly a perfect balance of inclusivity, but still letting the regular season matter. I think moving to 16, I'm kind of torn. I thought 16 was a little too much. I thought 12 was kind of perfect. You're basically saying 10% of all of FBS. You're saying of that, you get about 10%, maybe a little more of the P4, the P5, whatever it was. So I liked the 12. I would have preferred a situation where you assign the rankings not by having those automatic conference champions go up, because the thing that caused the blowouts in this playoff was the seeding, not the teams included. True. You had some lopsided seeding because of the way the conference championships shook out, and now all of a sudden you get these blowouts that you may not have had if the seeding had been what it should have been. It would have been a progressive tournament like you would expect a normal tournament to go, especially if you had some re-rack after the initial round of games. But that's neither here nor there. What I would like to see instead of these 4 auto bids for the SEC and the Big Ten, I'd like to see 3 auto bids with your champion and your runner-up getting the bid, and then 3 and 4 playing for the third one. I'd be good with 3 for them. Give 2 apiece to the Big 12 and the ACC, and maybe you let them do the same thing where 2 and 3 play out for that extra spot with your regular season champion getting the automatic bid. I wouldn't hate that, and give a few more at-larges there. I think the at-larges are going to be something where you don't square peg round hole the SEC and the Big 10 into half of the playoff every year, because they're not going to always have as much of a stacked deck every year.
100%.
There's probably going to be 2 to 3 teams that absolutely deserve it every year. I don't necessarily think that there are 4 teams in both of those conferences that are going to be in the top 16 every year. So that's my beef.
Probably not the Big Ten. I think the SEC probably. I mean, when you look last year, Ole Miss, South Carolina.
But that's the point of the regular season right there. That game mattered more. People said it killed the regular season. That game in the swamp, I got to point to people and say that game mattered. That was the most important regular season game. It crushed Ole Miss. They damn near lost to Mississippi State because of it. They shouldn't have had any reason to be almost or competing, having Mississippi State compete with them. That game proved like this is why it matters, because Ole Miss had slipped. They couldn't slip again, and they should have beat Florida. They were better than Florida. But that one day, college football rears its beautiful head and just says, today you lose. Tally, anything on this?
Yeah, y'all putting too much thought and effort into it and depth. It's very great. I just want to see Virginia Tech get
We do
there.
too.
This is what I'm saying, though. We ain't going to get there in the top 4, 8, 12, 16.
Maybe 16. Tally
Put 30 teams in there. We might be 30. We might be the top 30. If we can get there in 30, fucking put us in at 30, baby.
There we go.
I'm ready to go.
All right. And with that, let's wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast, brought to you by the Counts Family Pharmacy in Blacksburg, with our wonderful guest, Kolby Crawford. Where can they find you at, Kolby?
Yeah, I mean, just head over to vtscoop.com. You can follow me on X at Kolby Crawford. But, yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I know I ran y'all a little bit late, but, I love talking ball. So I appreciate you guys.
Oh, no, you didn't run us late, Kolby. This is the normal time for us. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
We are part of the College Huddle Network. Visit BoundaryCornerVT.com to see all of our episodes. Follow us Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Keep pumping YouTube. You guys are great out there following us on that. We're on every podcast source you could possibly think of. As always, we let our buddy Jason Long down in Roanoke. He plays us in. He plays us out. He and Tally are going to start a Titans football podcast. I can't wait to watch that every week.
We're going to be singing on there, too.
You're going to be singing on there, too. We appreciate. Check him out. Spotify, Apple Music, Jason Long, music.com. We appreciate y'all for listening. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.